In 2019, a team of archaeologists digging in the Utah desert found something that shouldn't have been there. Buried inside a 12,000-year-old fire pit were seeds. Not random seeds that blew in by accident, concentrated, deliberately placed seeds of wild tobacco. Someone, 12,000 years ago, threw a psychoactive plant into a fire on purpose. And that single discovery raises a much bigger question than when did humans start smoking? It raises this one. Was getting high ever optional for us, or is it something our brains were built to chase? In the 1980s, a UCLA psychopharmacologist named Ronald Siegel proposed something that sounded absurd at the time. He argued that the drive to alter your own consciousness isn't a bad habit, a moral failing, or a modern invention. He called it the fourth drive, sitting right alongside hunger, thirst, and sex. Something hardwired into the brains of animals, not just humans. And the evidence he pointed to is genuinely strange. Elephants in Africa seek out overripe, fermented marula fruit and visibly stumble around afterward. Reindeer in Siberia eat psychoactive mushrooms, and other reindeer, who clearly didn't get the memo first, drink their urine specifically because the compounds pass through intact. If a four-legged animal with no concept of religion or ritual is doing this, intoxication isn't culture. It's biology. So let's ask the real question. Why would a brain be built this way in the first place? Here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. Your brain already has receptors waiting for cannabinoids before you ever encounter cannabis. They're part of something called the endocannabinoid system, and it didn't evolve because of a plant. It regulates your mood, your appetite, your memory, all on its own. Which means when the first human inhaled smoke from a burning psychoactive plant, their brain wasn't confused by an intruder. It recognized a key that happened to fit a lock that was already there. That single biological fact reframes the entire history of smoking. It wasn't humans discovering a drug. It was a drug discovering a brain that had been waiting for it the entire time. Now, for that discovery to even be possible, you need one thing first: fire. And we've had it for a long time. At Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, archaeologists found burnt ash and bone dating back roughly 1,000,000 years, evidence of fire being deliberately maintained inside a cave, not a wildfire that wandered in. The species responsible wasn't even us, it was Homo erectus, a smaller-brained ancestor who had no idea they were laying the groundwork for an entire chapter of human behavior that wouldn't peak for another 998,000 years. Every fire after that one was a tiny laboratory. Burning plants release more than smoke. They release alkaloids and terpenes, chemical compounds that interact directly with the nervous system. Somewhere, on some ordinary night, an ancestor of yours sat too close to the wrong bush and accidentally had the best evening of their life. They had no idea why. They just knew they wanted to feel that again. That accident eventually became intention, and the oldest hard proof we have of it comes from burial mounds in Central Asia dated to around 500 BC. Excavators found wooden braziers filled with superheated stones, coated in residue from cannabis plants with unusually high potency. Not wild hemp used for rope. The good stuff, placed deliberately in a grave. And here's where history gets a little eerie. The Greek historian Herodotus, writing around the same period, described a nomadic people called the Scythians who built small enclosed tents, heated stones inside them, threw hemp seeds onto the stones, and sat inhaling the smoke while, in his words, howling with pleasure. For centuries, historians assumed he was exaggerating. Then archaeologists actually excavated Scythian burial mounds and found exactly what he described: bronze braziers, heated stones, hemp residue. Herodotus wasn't telling a tall tale. He was filing an accurate field report on history's first documented smoke session. Tobacco tells a slower, more reverent story. Native exclusively to the Americas, it was unknown anywhere else on Earth until European contact in 1492, when Columbus's crew watched indigenous people inhaling smoke from rolled leaves and were baffled enough to try it within weeks. But tobacco in the Americas predates that moment by thousands of years, and it was never casual. It sealed peace treaties between rival tribes. It carried prayers upward in healing ceremonies. Blowing smoke onto another person was a blessing, not a vice. The version of tobacco you picture today, something you do on a coffee break, is a European invention layered on top of something that was originally sacred. Even medicine got there early. Ancient Egyptian physicians, in a document called the Ebers Papyrus from around 1550 BC, prescribed inhaled herbal smoke for lung and throat conditions. Across the world in ancient China, healers practiced moxibustion, burning herbs near the skin to treat illness through smoke and heat. Different continents, zero contact with each other, the same conclusion: if smoke reaches the lungs directly, maybe it can heal them too. So back to that fire pit in Utah. 12,000 years of distance, and we still don't fully know whether that tobacco was ritual medicine or just an early form of stress relief. What we do know is that the moment has never really ended. The desire didn't start with cigarettes, and it won't end with whatever replaces them. It started the moment a curious brain looked at smoke curling into firelight and thought, that changed something in me. Let's do that again.